Welcome to our bonus episode with Bonnie Casamassima. Bonnie is a 6-2 generator, and we are emotional generator. And we're just going to talk a little bit through her chart today. And if you haven't listened to the main episode, Intuitive by Nature, you're going to want to head over there and take a listen. Today's episode is going to be extra full of intuition. Welcome, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Katie. This is such a delight.
So, a 6-2, you're here to educate us, and you're also here to be a role model, and you are role modeling intuition. And in your chart, your spleen, which is our intuitive center, is what we can call open, meaning that you receive information from others in this energy source. And those of us that are, it's almost usually we say if you're open that you're not as consistent here in the center of intuition. And I'm just curious, like, how does that relate? Because I think the spleen is a little bit different, but how does that relate for you when you think about your intuition?
With being consistent and open.
Yeah, like do you feel like your intuition is consistent? Also, it often it'll talk about like if you put your hand on a door, you might feel like a slight chill and it's telling you not to go in. But if you go in, you'll get, maybe you watch a movie and leave and you get sick the next day. It's like, yeah, it's a very I'm just curious a little bit about how your intuition center works.
Yeah. And I love that you said intuition center. And one, when you did the initial reading and overview of the chart, my mind was just blown. I just want to say that it was so affirming. I had had a human design reading before, but I haven't had the gene keys. And when you really unpacked that, there was so many alignments and so much consistency with the framework that I hadn't yet put words around. So before going into my like staying centered in my intuition. I just wanted to say thank you for that. It's such a powerful connection that you offer. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think being centered is the gateway for me to stay consistent with my intuition. So it very much is like, while it comes very naturally, I grew up always very empathetic. Like I could feel everybody's emotions and I thought they were mine for the longest time. So that's been a whole journey of unpacking. And then it wasn't until I was working in the corporate world and working then in like the research worlds of academia where my intuition came online in a really strong way. And so for me, being an adult, having that intuition or that like kind of intuitive remembering has really come through consistent practice. So I notice if I find myself kind of like not spending too much time in nature, not meditating, not dancing, not doing things that keep me really rooted in my body, that intuition is always there, but discerning it can get a little fuzzier. And so the practice is number one to stay really rooted in it. And then number two, the more that I trust it and follow it, the stronger it becomes. So it very much is it's very consistent when I honor it and stay in practice with it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that tracks for how we would talk about this. And this is the fear center. And so when you will say swimming in people's emotions, the lens that you're swimming in through human design would call it fears. And that those feel like emotions, right? That's the most ancient wiring that we have. And you're going to swim in two very specific ones uniquely. And one is it's a tribal energy. And so it's a fear that's like an alertness and it's meant to keep the tribe safe. And then the other one that you're going to fear is very much rooted around death. It's the fear of purposelessness. And I have this in a prominent place in my chart. And I imagine that is, and those are kind of like the default fears that you have. You also can feel all the other fears, the judgment fear, the inadequacy fear, like all of those different centers. But those are the two that sort of color your world, if you will.
Yes. Absolutely. I'll add a fear of abandonment fear on that one, like not being part of this cohesive unit and contributing to the greater good of the collective.
That's the 44, and I forget because I don't have it in my chart. And I pulled the card before her call today, and it was the 44, funny enough. And I don't know,
Okay.
I left it downstairs. But it's because it's tribal, like that would definitely be part of that fear. That makes sense. And that one
Yeah,
is conscious in your chart and
totally.
it's in your south node, so it's in your environment, the area that people are around with you, and it's your past. It's something you've mastered in the past, and I'm curious how purposelessness showed up for you. And because the gift of this is totality, it's holding the paradox, it's holding that research is lovely, but like intuition too, right? Like, how did that manifest for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head that purposeless is death. For me, like we've got this really powerful life that we're here to live, and we can make a lot of different choices to live in a million different ways. And for me, the thing that feels like quite literally like draining to my energy, draining to my soul, is to not use that energy and time intentionally with a purpose behind it. So I can absolutely feel that deep in my bones. I like if I feel like I'm working in something that doesn't feel an integrity or this energy is going to help support the greater good of people around, it feels like such a waste of time, and it feels like time just like stops, it like drags, versus when I'm in clarity and alignment and doing things that maybe bring people together, creating events, then the time just expands. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah, the gift is really just staying present, because when you are, and that goes right back full circle to how you stay in rooted in your intuition, is that every moment you're present is perfect and on purpose.
Yes.
Right. And that fear of purposelessness, like that showed up for me. It was my Saturn return, so it makes sense
Yes.
that when it showed up for me, it was this fear of all of a sudden, like, what am I doing in the world? I built this CrossFit gym. I'm doing these things, but like, what's my thing? And your purpose is really just to be present and be yourself. Your energy is so healing. That's something else that really stands out in the chart. It's how you prosper. And you actually do set emotions in the room. You bring these beautiful emotions, and how you feel impacts the collective. So it's very heartwarming to hear how you talk about just the intentionality that you bring of, if I'm not in alignment, like the collective feels it. You really do bring, you're like raising the vibration just simply by walking in the room with your energy.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for witnessing that and saying that with words. Yeah. I'm curious for you. You talked a little bit, if I can like flip it here, because I
Mhm.
just want to learn from each
Yeah.
other. The purposelessness where you had this, like, what am I doing with my time? Like, how did you come to that? What was that journey of coming to, like, my goal is to be deeply present?
So at the time, it was 2014, I hired a coach.
Yeah.
And that's not how I found my purpose, by the way, but it did give me that spark of like for me, like I wasn't fully present. I wasn't realizing that simply by being the person that said hello when you walked into the gym, like that was my purpose. And before that, I was a high school teacher, and so I felt like I was so respected in my profession. And so purpose almost felt like it was tied to identity, right? And to who and what
Yeah.
I did. And I wasn't the best CrossFit coach, but I was the best high school history teacher. And so but for purpose, I'm like, okay, well, I built this great gym. I'm the best business owner, but like now what? And when I understand in my chart, I'm here to move from master to novice to master to novice. That makes sense why I've had 4 careers as well. And
Yeah.
it took, finding, well, I had a nice like mental like collapse. I think this is what happens for people, is you can't reconstruct from something brand new if you don't fully deconstruct. And
Yes.
and then how do you trust yourself if you have a mental collapse? And that journey was heart math for me, and a lot of other things. Human design came around there. Gene keys was a huge part of being able to open up around patterns and healing, and You mentioned purpose, like Gene Keys just started the Venus retreat, which is virtual. I just joined in. The first one is about purpose and looking at how you embody that purpose. And mine is dynamism. And that creative
Yes.
energy had completely dried up. And when I read about it, it talked about it being tied to your adrenals. I had adrenal fatigue when I was moving through that time in my life. And the ADHD symptoms, like the swirling thoughts, the ruminating, the inner critic, all of that left
Yeah.
through becoming present and then choosing to observe the thoughts, choosing to replace them with I love you, which is my I love you practice that I teach people. Like Mel Robbins is letting them, I'm loving them. Um,
Yes.
that you start to like not try to run away from that moment or talk yourself out of why that moment is silly. A lot of times we try to talk to the voice, like tell the voice it's wrong. I was going through a coaching program. They're like, tame your gremlin, all the things. I'm like, that gremlin just needed love. If you love something so hard, it will eventually fall apart.
Yes.
And so it was a journey. It wasn't like I woke up and I was going to be present, but it helped me realize like as soon as I walk in the room, my purpose is being served. Like once,
Yes.
however, the quality of the energy and we always talk about authenticity as if it's a personality trait, but it's really just inner and outer honesty. So if your vibration internally is matching you externally, then you are fully authentic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing the journey with it and how it's like what I'm hearing and receiving from that is a series of like trusting those alignment moments, trusting what feels alive, trusting what feels in resonance. And then how do you begin to really deconstruct what's not yours anymore? And then from that kind of foundation, construct what is in alignment from that by following that inner and outer resonance.
Oh,
It's powerful.
trusting myself to also be in my body. So that's part of that like ADHD of
Yeah.
we're in our head and there's so many and like we take in so much information that sometimes being in the body is uncomfortable.
Yep.
So I also like to do immersive experimentation is what I call it. So like going into Home Goods for me is like a master class in staying present.
Yes. Oh
Costco
my God.
also master class in staying present. And
Bucky's is like the PhD
yes.
being present. It really is. Like I'll use it as a meditation. If like other people in our road trips want to stop there, I'm like, okay, how can I like stay present and grounded with all of this energy around? I resonate with that deeply. Oh my God, I love that.
In your chart, you also have both of your pressure centers open. So you talk about taking in information and your head is wide open. So you're swimming there. I swim in my solar plexus. So I swim in emotions, which is that area that is really where, emotions are a motor and but there's no logic in emotions. And that's what's so interesting because I'm rooted in logic, in my chart.
Oh,
And and you have this great tribal energy and you have this great individual energy. And then your ego is wide open, which makes it as well. So your head and your ego. So you're swimming in everyone's ego when you walk out in the world, in addition to all of their thoughts, their fears, how they're conceptualizing, and then the pressure to know answers, and then this pressure to like get things done and get them off your plate is ever present. And I'm curious for you, how do you stay out of the head and the pressure of trying to cross something off your list or trying to just know something that isn't even needed to be known?
my gosh. I love this question so much. Katie, it has been and continues to be an ongoing journey of embodiment, is the headline of it. And for me, things, practices like dance, like for me, I look at like marks of success. You, girl, I'm going to have a spreadsheet. So I work with the systems that I'm really inspired by, like spreadsheets, checklists. But on those, I really work to revise the system from I completed this project to how many times this week did I let myself spontaneously move? How many times this week did I find somewhere to go dance in community with others? Like for me, those practices of embodiment are how I really tune in to like what is mine, what is my energy center, what is my like purpose to bring forward, and then how can I discern and differentiate what are other people's emotions, energies, egos, to then hold space with that, but not get it enmeshed as much into my own. So a lot of it has been embodiment practices. And for me, what I've noticed to be most powerful, like to get really tangible about it and tactical, is like micro practices. So while I try to prioritize at least once a week going somewhere to dance in public. So I've been doing two step lately, and that's been so fun. On Thursday nights, it's a blast. I also love electronic music, like anything that I cannot have words to it. So I can really get into the feel of the music is really powerful for me. And in my day to day, prioritizing some type of movement. So maybe it's a meditative movement in the mornings where I just put on my favorite headphones and listen to a 2 minute song and just move however my body wants to move. For me, that's one that's been such an unlock of the more that I prioritize getting in my body, it helps me to get really clear in the analytical reasoning because I think it's really important. But for so long, that's what drove 99% of everything. So it's really looking at how am I being with that ego awareness, that emotional awareness of everybody around me, like quite literally like feeling them because it's a superpower. Like when you come into leadership conversations and business, you can hear people's words and we want to honor those. But what we're really tuning into with this, and I know you should you have a similar experience, we're tuning in is like, what is our underlying need? Like, what is that underlying mode of safety? And if we can meet each other there, there's so much collaboration and growth that can happen because we're not putting up our walls with each other. We're working together in community. So for me, it's been very much not a like this or that, not a kind of ego and energy center or in my body or analytical or movement. It's been how can I prioritize more balance with the two by practices such as movement, embodiment, somatic expression, kind of those type things, breath work, so that I can have that clarity when I'm in those business conversations or collaborations of, okay, what of this is mine? What is of this is theirs? And how do we use that clarity to move forward together? Yeah.
I like to hear how you use like discernment. We both have this gift in our chart in very prominent places. For you, it's your role in society, which is why people tell you their secrets. And for me, it's my vocation. Your role in society and your vocation can feel very, very similar, and they're connected in the charts. And you use the word balance, and I look at it more as discernment, which is the name of the gift of just everyone wants a balance between intuition and logic, where I just want intuition to make decisions and logic. Like those, and I'm rooted in logic. So it's so funny to me when people want to tell me that that's not logical, but it is. And a lot of times it's those data points. So, what I want to highlight that you said there was for people with open roots that are constantly feeling pressure to get things off their list, because I just live with a big list, is tracking behaviors and
Yes.
behaviors that you want to reinforce. And I look at that as a hypothesis. Logic says you experiment and then not just say, well, that's not real. But how many
Mhm.
people listening right now are like, I mean, I don't know if intuition's real and how do you trust it? I hear this, funny enough, from a lot of my science background folks that work in hospitals and labs specifically. And but if we don't practice it, if we don't work on developing it, and when you talk about pulling apart those voices, like that was a big part of my process when I first started with human design. And now I'm really tuning into that energetic field to hear what the not the words, but what's the heart saying, like versus the mind, like being able to really pull them apart. And I'm really listening for where's their resistance. because where there's
Yeah.
energetic resistance, yes, I imagine you are too. We just use different language. You're the real leader in the chart, as I think I told you, and my driving force is to influence leaders by just changing language. Because when we look for balance, what we do is be teeter totter. And when we start looking at it more of which one comes first, like there's a chicken and there's an egg.
Yes.
And also which one comes last, that's the decision maker. And that needs to be intuition. As you said, it's got to be coming back to what comes first for you and why you track behaviors because you're compulsive is because you recognize that all of those things, you don't have to do anything. You just have the results.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's really, I love that you're bringing up the conversation. And I get this often. Do I follow my intuition or do I follow my logic? And the answer is yes. Yes. It's how do we learn to work with these really sacred and powerful tools to create momentum and forward movements. I coming from the academic world and the research world, you shared about a lot of your colleagues are like, I don't know if I believe in intuition. So I really love to talk about the many ways that our intuition comes. As you know, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it can come through gut feelings, deep knowings, body sensations, vivid dreams, lots and lots of different ways. And I'll ask people a question. I'm like, when we let ourselves just get really quiet around a question that we're trying to work with,
Mm.
we often know the answer. Like we know the response. We can look at spreadsheets, we can analyze them, and let's use that data. It's very important. But what might it feel like if we gave ourselves permission to trust that inner knowing just a little bit more in our decision making matrix? And I know I've shared this with you is, people talk about, well, what is intuition? And I shared an example when we first met about, that time when you feel really drawn to someone and you can't explain why, but it's like a magnet. You're just drawn to them. You want to be near them. Or the flip side of that, you maybe kind of had a little resistance, didn't want to really spend too much time with them. So you went ahead and dated them for a few months anyway, just to see if our intuition was right. When I share that example, many people are like, oh, we get it. I think intuition sometimes can have this definition or lack of clarity of like what it is, how do we use it in our everyday life? And when we start to really peel back the layers, for me, what I've seen is step one is often like sharing with people, like you've been listening to your intuition all along. Maybe those weren't the words that you use for it, but here are the ways it comes. Now that you have that language and that affirmation, like, wait a second, this has been guiding me all along. How do we use it as a powerful tool on purpose with logic as well? They're very much companions.
I always
Yeah.
say that your logic, if you're in intuition, if your logic is logical, it won't be going against your intuition, is what I tell people. And, and
I love it.
my intuitive center has four energies that connect to it. And the 3457, the 57 is that clarity and that inner, and it's very acoustic. So the 57, like it lands in my ear, and that is how I know intuitively. And that energy I'm a two line in, which is a natural, which is why for a very long time I didn't know what anybody was talking about when they were like systems thinking and intuition. And then I like finally clicked like, oh, these are this. I didn't know we were doing things differently, guys. Like I
I
look
see the world.
right, like I look at data and I
Totally.
can like, needle and haystack, like pinpoint exactly what it is. And so to me,
What
logic
a-
and intuition are not separate. And if they're
Yeah.
disagreeing, that's how we know the brain and the heart are disagreeing. And that's where I invite people. Then you come in and you talk to your heart so that you have your truth. But instead, we outsource truth.
Yes.
We go to AI and we go to therapists and we go to coaches.
Well,
Like that's what I was doing, trying to figure out, what my purpose was and how I was going to put it to work and all of those things. Versus
yeah.
recognizing like what the intuition was really saying was, hey, you fulfilled your purpose. It's time to move on. Anytime you feel purposelessness, just go in within and look at because that energy. So there's four ways that energies fulfill a purpose, and one of them is called through spirit, which is when your purpose is fulfilled, you die. So it can be a proverbial death, a career death, right? A friendship that ends, like what have you, but it's about endings. And that's why that energy specifically in your chart is very much around death, because we don't celebrate that. We don't celebrate those types of endings, which is why we give it
Yeah.
labels like, I've lost my purpose. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not contributing to society, versus just looking that every day that you breathe, you are fulfilling it. Whether you think it's for good or bad is your label that you put on it, but you are still right where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
I could talk to you
Yeah.
all day about intuition. And I just want to say, if you are still listening, make sure you head over to the bonus episode because we're really going to dive into her research. I'm sure you'll learn some really great things there to take and put into action. To me, HI is the future. We've had AI for a long time. We just called it machine learning then, and it didn't feel intelligent. Uh, so for, and we've also had HI even longer. So I love that you're really bringing to the forefront a time where when we don't know how to trust ourselves, you've got practices, you've got conferences, you've got ways for people to come in and start gathering their own data to be able to trust themselves. Because N of one is my, I think, my platform for people. And if you've really got to be your own experiment.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely agree. It's so incredible connecting. And while I love the like there's so many powerful resources that we have available. So I know like for me, coaches have been like incredible with spotlighting these moments of discernment, these moments of kind of like liminal spaces of I'm neither here nor there, kind of transitioned out, these deaths, if you will. I love that reframe of it. And they can be deeply powerful, and I like highly support and encourage them. And the power through those resources and tools to relearn that connection within, that we really have this deep inner knowing, this deep guidance system that has been here all along. It's, I believe, I feel deeply sacred. There's so much research to back it up. Giving ourselves permission in a society that often says the answer is outside of us, to know that it actually is inside of us and get really curious what it might feel like to listen to that a little bit more each day. It's powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah. And not to put us out of business, I always tell people like your intuition will lead you to say, I bet if I talk to Katie, and it won't say it like that. What it looked like for my client was he had a meeting with someone and his intuition was like, yeah, I'll take that meeting. And she said something that had nothing to do with anything, but he was like, that's the word I was looking for this deck, right? Like he got the thing. It's because energies just do what they do subconsciously. And
Totally.
so your intuition can, and what you're really saying then is, I don't need coaching from Katie, or but I need this from Bonnie. It's, I need the energy, the aura. Like that's ultimately what you're buying when you buy people. You just also buy their words. But your
Totally.
intuition can still call you places. And we're all here to experiment. We're all in different places of our journey. So wherever it's calling you is where you're meant to be. There is no wrong or right.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just follow what really, I literally have a sign. Here, I've got it. I'll show it to you. I have a sign on my desk that says, is this energizing? It might be reversed with the camera, but is this energizing? Like, does it feed me? Does it give me this energy in this life? And running opportunities, questions through this filter has been so powerful because it is like energy will guide you. It's our opportunity if we want to listen or not. And we're allowed to have a lot of fun in this process too. And in fact, I think it's a disservice if we choose not to have fun in it because we're so expansive when we're in that state of joy and connection. Yeah.
Yeah, head over to our main episode because we're going to talk about how you build a business with some of that intuition as well. Can it really work? Is what everybody wants to know.